flash flooding claimed 2 lives this weekend in central Oklahoma. Police and more say that the high water stranded 2 cars last night and one was swept under a bridge. Rescue teams were able to save some people, but a woman and a 12-year-old boy were found dead. Emergency managers are warning of more potential flash flooding this weekend, with more heavy rain expected this week in areas with streams already filled with water from this week's storms. Nearly a year after a tornado hit Rogers, Southside Church of Christ is still repairing its sanctuary. But this Easter, they returned to the building, celebrating hope and healing after the storm. The May 26 tornado ripped through the church's roof, shattered stained glass, and floored the sanctuary. But instead of focusing on repairs, members turned their church into a relief center. They spent weeks clearing debris, handing out supplies, and helping neighbors in need. This Easter Sunday, they led with community and faith even through the storms.
The Bible, it talks about, to consider the lilies of the field. They toil not, neither do they spin, but God takes care of them. And sometimes we just have to be those lilies and just say, if it comes, it comes. Look, we've lived through it before, and so we can live through it again.
Even if there's a tornado on the horizon, though I would pray that God would keep the tornadoes out of Rogers for the foreseeable future, certainly. But if another one comes, I have full confidence that this church will step up just like we did last time.
Church leaders say repairs will take time, but the congregation is stronger than ever, reminding everyone their faith was never tied to the building. And we'll share more of their story coming up tonight on your 5 News at 10. The Vice President had a meeting tonight with Pope Francis at the Vatican. J.D. Vance is visiting Italy this weekend, and the White House says he met with the Pope for a private meeting and the two exchanged Easter greetings. The meeting with Vice President Vance came after the Pope took an Easter day tour in the Pope Mobile around the Vatican. The battle over the Trump administration's deportation measures continues to intensify, with both a U.S. Senator and President Trump weighing in on the debate this Easter Sunday. Christian Benavides brings us the latest developments on the legal battle.
Lawyers for the Trump administration are urging the Supreme Court to allow the deportations of Venezuelan men they claim are criminal gang members to continue. The deportations remain paused while justices consider the matter. The administration's filing came hours after a rare weekend ruling by the justices, which halted deportation flights. The migrants are currently being held in a central Texas detention center. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen recently returned from El Salvador, where he met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Justice Department officials have said Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador last month in what they call a clerical error. Van Hollen appeared on Face the Nation on Sunday.
Because when you trample on the constitutional rights of one man, as the courts have all said is happening in this case, you threaten the constitutional rights of every American.
Van Hollen said it's time for the Trump administration to adhere to the Supreme Court ruling and facilitate Abrego Garcia's return.
Go to court, stop tweeting, and put up or shut up in front of the judges.
President Trump used Easter Sunday as an opportunity to attack those questioning his deportation measures. In a post to Truth Social, the president wrote, "Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our country." The president will take part in Easter celebrations Monday in Washington. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
We're hearing tonight from car dealerships about how they're preparing for the impact tariffs will have on their business. Justin Van Kirk runs a used car dealership in Northeast Oklahoma and says the uncertainty is increasing the demand for his business.
Do I think there's change? Absolutely. Is it maybe going to be tough and we have to adapt? For sure. But I'm not scared.
Justin says that they typically keep around 30 cars on their lot, but with the impact tariffs could have on the market, they stocked up to almost 100 cars. Students and faculty at the Florida State University campus held a vigil this weekend for the victims who were killed and hurt when a gunman opened fire in the school student union. The gunman injured 5 people and killed 2 men working on campus before he was captured after a shootout with law enforcement. The 5 victims are hospitalized, are expected to fully recover. Last week's deadly shooting on the FSU campus came a decade after a gunman opened fire at the school's library. One man who was left paralyzed from that shooting says the lack of change since 2014 is deeply troubling. Reporter Jennifer Titus spoke with him and shares his story.
You can see Ronnie Ahmed wheel from one side of the room to the camera to conduct this interview. First off, let me start in asking you, how are you doing?
It's fine. I've had like 50 messages since yesterday. Kind of juggling everything.
But Ronnie's life was never on wheels before the 2014 shooting that happened on Florida State's campus. Ronnie was sitting outside of the library.
I heard pop, see a guy walking towards me with a gun. I tried to run, got shot twice.
The shooting left 3 people dead and Ronnie in the hospital for months. And it left you paralyzed from where? The shooting?
My T10 vertebra, so like my hips, roughly.
After Thursday's shooting outside of the student union, he questions if anything has changed on the campus that changed his life forever.
Nothing. Nothing changed. I'm not, at least to my understanding, I don't even remember them changing the turnstiles or the way that they handle things or anything at all.
We reached out to not just Florida State University, but multiple universities around Florida to see if any changes were made after the 2014 shooting and if any will be made now. University of North Florida tells us the UPD and crisis management team meet regularly to conduct training and update plans for active shooter and other emergency incidents. At the University of South Florida, they provide active shooter training for not just their officers, but offer a brand new in-person active threat training series comprised of 4 modules, including a stop the bleed drill and how to shelter in place. Do you still have pain anywhere else? Like, do you still
In pain right now. I'm never not in pain.
For Ronnie, he can only hope more changes are made to keep an active shooter event from happening.
I literally can't do anything that I used to. I had my whole life taken from me. I had everything that I had built up and dreamt for stolen from me because I went to school. I was trying to be an engineer and I got massacred for it.
That was Jennifer Titus reporting. Police say the suspect used a handgun that belonged to his stepmom. She is a local county sheriff's deputy, now on personal leave. The accused gunman remains hospitalized tonight with injuries he suffered in a shootout with police. Investigators have not revealed any details about a motive.